Hi guys, welcome to the Makeup Muse's first video blog. I am Savannah, the younger muse. My mother, Susan, already did a blog on makeup brushes, but I have decided to do a video blog on them, just on the uses and my essential brushes. And I will add on to the blog by listing how I wash my brushes, what I wash them with, all of that kind of good stuff. But I thought it would go a lot quicker. I will put pictures up, but I thought it would go a lot more quickly if I made a video of the brushes I use most instead of making just a blog about them. So to start off, I guess the best way to explain this would be that I do my makeup in 3 steps. I do the liquid first, which is starting with the primer and then going to the corrector, the foundation, and the concealer. I seal all of that up with a powder, and then I spritz with water. I will do an entire blog going into depth on how I do my everyday look, which is this look. But this goes through the basic steps. So first off, I will use my fingers for the primer and for the corrector, which I will go more in depth with in another video. The first brush I use is this one. This is the Sephora Airbrush Precision Foundation Brush. This is from the Professional line. They do look different than the rest of the Professional line because I got these from a Christmas set. So this has the gray handle and the silver here instead of all black. They changed the look later on. So for a less coverage look, I will use this brush and I will simply go around like this with a liquid foundation. Or my preferred method is to use the sponge. This is just a Quo sponge from Shoppers Drug Mart. And I rip them in half because this textured edge gives a really nice finish. So I pat the foundation on and then I just blend it in like this. Again, I'll cover all of this in a separate video later on. This is just to give you an idea of the basics. The second brush I will use is for the word I'm searching for, the concealer. This is the Airbrush Concealer Brush from Sephora. All of the Sephora Professional lines, this is again one of the Professional lines like the last one. They are made with synthetic bristles, which I far prefer because they are just easier to work with, they have less fallout, and they hold together a lot better than the real fur brushes. So the synthetic brushes have come a long way, and I highly recommend them over the natural brushes. So for this one, this is for large areas. I'll dab the concealer along here because I have very bad under eye circles being so pale, and under the nose. And then for smaller areas, I will use this. This is just a cheaper brush. This is the Quo Concealer Brush, and it is good just for small blemishes. And then I'll usually tap that in with my fingers if it's a bit of a larger area or it doesn't conceal too well with just the small brush. I use a cheaper brush for the concealer brush because I can get away with it. I mean, you cut corners where you can, and I got that long before I got the Professional sets, and it works quite well. I don't recommend it for most brushes, especially the larger brushes. So then I will apply the powder with the sponge. It's important to use a sponge because it will retain all of the powder, so you'll put it all over, focusing on the areas where you've had the most liquid, so under the eyes, under the nose, etc. And then you will use this brush. It's important that you don't use a brush to apply the powder because this brush is actually used to knock away powder, so you go like that. Knocks away all of the excess powder instead of applying it. This is the Sephora Airbrush Powder Brush from the Professional line. So after applying the powder, I'll just go like that and brush away all of the excess and then put on a spritz of water. I usually use a Ven. Right now I don't have a Ven, I have a Vichy. Works really, really well, refreshes the skin and also sets the powder, which has set the makeup. So the next step would be giving some texture to your face, adding contour and blush, all of that good stuff. So to start off, I will use the Sephora Professional Angled Brush. This I'll do for contouring along the cheekbones, highlighting along the upper cheekbones, and putting against the top of the nose here. Really, really handy, nice brush. And I notice I have a very strong Roman nose, so I will also contour and highlight my nose. For this, I will use this little brush here. This is the Airbrush Crease Brush from the Sephora Professional line. It's actually meant for the eyes, but works really well for applying contouring to the nose and also highlighting just along here and wherever you have a bit of color, such as under the nose. Works really, really well for that. So then I will do the actual blush with either the Airbrush Precision Foundation brush, the Sephora one that I showed you before. Now this is for foundation, but I find it works really well for blush. They have a separate one for blush. Fairly similar, just a bit more fanned out. I find this one works quite well when it's blended in with this big brush that I showed you before, the powder brush. So I just haven't gotten around to buying one because what I have works quite well. Either that or I will use the angled blush. Angled blush brush, depending on what effect I'm going for. And as for illuminator, I'm looking for a good stippling brush, but right now I just use my fingers and it works quite well. The brush I used to use is the Quo angled brush. It's not as fluffy as the Sephora angled brush, and I find it gives a slightly more harsh line and deposits in lines. So I don't use that very much anymore. It is one that is quite popular though and is recommended, so I would watch out for that because I haven't found a lot of uses for it, nothing that I will use on a regular basis anyway. So something else is bronzer. I don't use bronzer. This is a bronzer brush from the Smashbox collection. It's a really good brush. I will sometimes use it for highlighter. Again, I don't use bronzer, so this is not used very often by me. But it is a high quality brush, so I thought I would mention it. And the third step is doing your eyes. So there is the Essential. This is the brush that comes in almost every eyeshadow pack. This is the flat eyeshadow brush. This is meant for packing on color, just dotting along here. You don't want to brush, or like that larger, fluffier brush I showed you, this is the equivalent of that. It will just brush the powder right off and make it go everywhere. You'll end up using a lot more product to get the same effect, and it won't be quite as good. So I recommend having a couple of these because it is the most used brush. This one is the Sephora Professional Collection, the Airbrush Shadow Brush. I do have two more that aren't as good quality. I got this is the first one I got, this is the Quo. It works okay. Definitely not nearly as good as the Sephora brush, and this one I got in the Urban Decay eyeshadow set. Most of the ones you get in eyeshadow sets, I just say throw them away. They're not good. They're usually complete rubbish. But this one is not bad. Not as good quality as the Smashbox, or sorry, the Sephora, but definitely not horrible quality. I use it when I don't really have any other choice if I've used my other brushes. I do like this one a little more than the Quo brush, but I'd say they're pretty much on par. I got this with the Naked set, which is why I was surprised that it's okay quality. But again, generally I just say toss those out. They're usually crap. Pardon my language. So the other brush I got is the one that I use every day. This is by Quo. This is the Crease Blender brush. This is for doing the outer V. This is very good for applying color here and then brushing it out and really making that nice and blended in. It creates a really definite V, like you can see here, and is cheap. I mean, it's a good quality brush. I got it at Shoppers Drug Mart. Good quality brush for cheap. I would look at getting a better quality pencil brush, but this will do for now. I mean, it's definitely not something I would rush out to go get if I already have the cheaper one that works well. The other one, this is one I don't use every day, but it does have its uses. Really, really good for intense blending or covering large areas. This is the Rounded Smudge Brush by the Sephora Professional Collection, and it's just a stiff dome brush. And it works really well. It's the number 12 in the Sephora collection, and I don't use it super often, but again, it does have its uses. I'll do some videos on what I would use this brush for. The other one I do use every day, this is the Sephora Professional Airbrush Crease Brush. It is fantastic for depositing color and just lightening up. This is for spreading color right at the top of the lid or at the top of the eye and right in the corners here. To give just, I usually use a white to try and separate my eyes a bit because my eyes are a bit closer to each other, and that gives the effect of them being a little more spaced out. It works really well. I swear by this brush. It is a broad dome brush. This one I was recommended to use, and honestly it has its purpose, but I don't use it very often. This is the Sephora Professional Angled Liner Brush for gel liners. This is to apply right along here, and it was recommended over the one that I already have, which is a separate brush altogether, still for gel liners. And I find that this is the Smashbox gel liner brush, works better. It was supposed to be for right in the waterline here. I use it for both, and I find it works really well. So this is the one that I use for every purpose when it comes to liners. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you liked, click the subscribe link up above. I'm sorry it's a bit lower quality. My camera apparently did not want to work with my computer, so I'm doing this on tablet. It's something I'll continue to do until I get a better camera that will actually sync with my computer. For some reason the one I got didn't want to, but if you follow the link to the blog at the bottom, there is further information on how to clean your brushes and what I use to clean the brushes, how often I clean my brushes, all of that good stuff, as well as close-up pictures of the brushes and descriptions of them for you. So I hope you enjoyed, and subscribe to the video blog as well as the written blog, and I'll see you later.